fascinating guests on the show. Today we're a really interesting guest. We're going to look at, the topic we're going to discuss today is householders to increase appliance knowledge to save money this winter. So obviously, it's no secret the challenges that we've had last few years with things like energy bills. But today we're going to have a guest give you an insight how we can potentially save some money. It's Paul Hyde, CEO from AMDEA, is going to give us a bit of an insight into what we can do to help us possibly save some money. So Paul, welcome to the show. Great to have you on board.
Yeah, good morning, Jimmy. Yeah, great to be speaking to you today.
Thanks, Paul, for joining us. So can you give us a bit of an insight into the research, Paul, and what some of our listeners can do to perhaps possibly save some money?
Indeed, yes. So we're a trade association, so we represent all the manufacturers of domestic appliances, so everything from cookers to washing machines to kettles. And this campaign, it's pretty simple, really. It's giving people easy information, simple to understand information on how you can use your appliances more efficiently to reduce those energy bills and also to reduce things like water consumption. Because research shows that we don't always use the features that are built into appliances to make them work at their most efficient. So what we're doing is giving some examples, some tips and tricks on how you can actually save money, while energy bills are still very high for most of us. And to give you some examples, looking at the current sort of electricity tariffs that are capped at the moment, things like eco settings on washing machines and dishwashers, for an example. Just a simple button to hit makes the machine wash very, very efficiently. And that if you did that every time you did a wash, hit the eco button, you could probably save getting on £80 a year in electricity, across the year, just by doing nothing else other than hitting that button. Most of us have got a microwave at home. If we're using them for things that maybe don't require a sort of crisping, that we'd normally use a conventional oven for, well, you could probably save, £60 a year on that sort of activity. Again, very, very simple. If you've got a tumble dryer, if you've got one of the newer sort of more efficient heat pump dryers, or you're thinking of buying a new tumble dryer, if you have the most efficient dryers versus some of the older sort of condenser type, they are much, much cheaper to run and maybe save you £100 a year, if you're using it only once or twice a week. So some of these are quite simple information. And also I think there was a YouGov survey last year that showed that even though we're all thinking about how to save energy, thinking about energy efficiency, probably 40% of us, even since the very high energy prices of last year, haven't actually changed how we use our appliances. I think the other thing to add is simple maintenance techniques. So things like always cleaning your filters on things like tumble dryers and occasionally on washing machines, so the machine doesn't have to work too hard to push water and air through clogged filters can make quite a bit of difference. If you're in a hard water area, using occasionally a descaler in your kettle or your washing machine will make the appliance work more efficiently and make it actually last quite a lot longer as well in that case. So some of these are simple stuff. So we're not saying to people you've got to spend more money. What we're saying is, smaller behavioural changes can make a big difference over a year.
Absolutely. It's pretty interesting, Paul, and I've got my sort of pen and paper handy, getting a few tips myself, really. But yeah, there's some things here, obviously, like you've mentioned there, about sort of maintenance and sort of, other things that we can do to sort of help us become more energy efficient. Obviously, there's a lot of things, to take in consideration. But if there was sort of one area, Paul, that you feel that was kind of, for anyone listening, sort of, plausible, what would be one place to start? You think it's just like there's so many things that we can do based on obviously the research. But what would you say would be maybe a good place to start for our listeners?
I think the easiest one, Jimmy, is use those eco buttons on washing machines and dishwashers. All machines have them. They have to have them by law. The energy efficiency is worked out using the eco setting. A lot of people are a bit hesitant to use those because they say, well, it takes a lot longer. The cycles take longer, so surely that must use more energy. But it doesn't. The machine runs a little bit more slowly, but it runs much, much more efficiently. And it's still designed to get your clothes or your dishes as clean at those eco settings. I think that's the one thing that I would suggest, which is a no hassle, very effective use of the appliances that we already have. But we've got lots of tips and tricks. There's lots of information. So also we would direct people, Jimmy, to our website, which is amdea.org.uk. Go to the Know What's What pages. It's the first pages you'll see as you enter the website. There's lots of information on there on things you can do, why it makes a difference, lots of tips and tricks depending on the appliances. And also, there's information on there. Well, if you need a repair, is it worth getting a appliance repaired versus replaced? How do I find out more information? Many manufacturers offer fixed price repairs now, so it's very transparent what it's going to cost. There's links there through the manufacturer's websites and their customer support centres, so you can actually speak to manufacturers before making a decision on repair and replace. So there's lots of very useful information on there that people can use as a reference point on efficient appliance use and repair and maintenance.
Absolutely, and I suppose that's the thing a lot of people no doubt will be taking into consideration, Paul, certainly myself. I mean, do I replace, do I repair, and what's the cost? And obviously sometimes you can replace an item and it ends up being cheaper in the long term, but trying to get your head around all of that can be a bit of a challenge really. But that sounds really useful, the website, to check that out and go from there. So just in terms of that, Paul, is there a case sometimes to replace maybe like a fridge, or I know things aren't, people are struggling these days financially, but is there a case where maybe replacing an item like a fridge or something along them lines would end up cheaper just through energy consumption and keeping something going?
Absolutely, Jimmy, particularly on older appliances. So fridge freezers, which clearly are working, on and off 24/7, so they're always plugged in and powered up, of course. If you've got a product that's 12 to 15 years plus old, then that will be much less efficient than pretty much every appliance that you could buy today. And obviously, if you're buying a new appliance, then look at the energy labelling that all appliances in the shops will have to show. And if it's an A-rated appliance or the highest rating within your budget, that will be the most efficient appliance. So yes, there are examples, because older fridge freezers can maybe cost circa £70 a year more to run. So if you look at it over a 12 to 15 year life, if you can afford to replace, or you are looking to replace, it will more than pay for itself. And I would say the same with things like tumble dryers. Very, very old tumble dryers, they will be the older technology. They are quite expensive to run if you're doing a lot of drying. If you can't air dry. And again, the more modern ones, if you are looking to replace, will pay for themselves in the saving probably within a few years. But that doesn't mean you can't get older appliances repaired. You certainly can, and appliances will last up to 15-20 years if looked after, if repaired or given maintenance. So. Or even if you're looking to put in your appliances, there's a growing second-hand market. So there might be other people out there that could make good use of that. So there's an opportunity to ensure that they don't go to recycling if they're still working. They can be very useful for somebody else if you've finished with it.
Yeah, that's great, Paul. Some interesting information there. Just a reminder, guests again, Paul. Where can they go?
So go to AMDEA's website, so that's AMDEA, amdea.org.uk, and look at the Know What's What energy saving pages. If you click the button that says Let's Help You Save, everything's on there from eco settings to tips and tricks to support on maintenance and repair. amdea.org.uk.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Paul. It's been really interesting and informative. I'll check it out myself, that's for sure. And hopefully I can save a bit of money myself this winter time. Thanks again, Paul.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Cheers.